here we are, and it's really quiet. Not that there's ever a whole lot of ruckus going on in my background when I record these videos, but when I do have kids at home, which they're older kids, they're 16 and 17, I usually have to preface things by saying to them, hey, I'm recording a video, which they're so used to. I have been recording some type of content since 2021, 2022. And for a little while, when they first got their cell phones, my son used to record stuff for his own platform and would have a lot of fun with it. And we used to have this thing where we would say quiet on the set. And anytime that we would say quiet on the set, any one of us would say quiet on the set, we knew in the house that meant everybody shh, because the person who just yelled out quiet on the set is recording some type of content and we need to be quiet for a little bit. But the kids are not home. They are away. And so we're going to talk about that. Let's talk about how this happened in this part 1 series. Let's talk about how this happened and why, and we'll take it from there. So let's talk. My kids are away at camp, and I knew this was going to happen for my daughter. I know this was going to happen for her because last year she went to a camp and she loved it. She came back from the camp and announced, I'm coming back next year. But she didn't just announce it, she really meant this. And she was able to go. Mind you, this camp is not cheap. It's like $800 something. She was able to go last year because she had gotten a scholarship and I was able to, pay some money. But that's it. Like, this camp is not cheap. But she set out to really make this happen for herself. Worked really hard throughout the year, saved up her monies. Like, I didn't have to pay a single thing. And she talked about it throughout the year. She shared dates with the family. It was just this excitement throughout the year, which I'm so proud of her for doing that, for completing that goal. For my son, however, there was nothing in place. First of all, he didn't really say anything about wanting to go to camp or anything like that. It's just something he didn't really talk about. And we're just not really camp people, really, in this season. It's been more of a financial aspect, as y'all see, $800 something. That's just for one kid. Imagine two. It's just not what we could do in this season. But my son's school bus driver, I talked to him about, hey, I go to a church. he goes to a church and they're like, I'm willing to pay for the whole thing. If you want to go to the camp that they're having in my church, I'll pay for the whole thing. And mom did have to put a little deposit, but it was so minimal. And the church granted a scholarship and all these things, and off away they went. Well, I mean, I just say off away they went. But we're in the middle of working things out with my son's camp, of trying to figure this out. Like, can we really do it? Can we not? Just kind of getting into the early stages of logistics. And lo and behold, he gives me the dates. And I'm like, those dates sound really familiar. And next thing I know, my son and my daughter, turns out, although they're going to 2 completely different camps, they're both on the same, like, they're on the same week. And I was like, are you serious? Are you serious? And I knew that meant that I was taken off from work, that I needed to sit down somewhere, which is something that I have felt an inkling from the Lord for a good while. Like, you need to go take some time off. It is a practice of mine every 3 months, every quarter, to go away. And typically I either like to go away to some mountains, or we'll go off into one of my favorite city locations and just spend time with the Lord. And what that looks like for me is on the drive there, I'll talk to God, and we'll maybe put on a sermon or put on a podcast, and it do different things. Sometimes I'll read. Like if I'm in the mountains, I'll read. The last time I went to the mountains, it was none of that. It was, I'm just walking, and when I would sense that something like a word came to my spirit, I would write it down. I would look and enjoy nature, and anytime I sense something in my spirit, I would write it down. And that is how God spoke to me. Typically, I'll also come back down to where I'm at with clarity, or sometimes just decompressed enough to where I can hear the voice of God, because sometimes we're so busy and there are a lot of stressors and there's just so much noise going on that we we end up running on fumes, number one, and not realize that we're doing that. And number two, we really can't hear the voice of God as clearly as we should because there's a lot of noise going on. And yeah, and I kind of skipped 2 quarters. I haven't done this in a minute. And I knew it was time because I felt the pull. Usually when it's time, I'll feel it in my spirit. I can hear the voice of the Lord saying, it's time. But I haven't. It just, financial reasons, and there's always something that pops up. So I haven't prioritized that. And I wasn't to the point where I felt burnt out, where I'm like, oh, I need to take off a whole week from work. Because mind you, these little getaways, they're just like a 1-day trip type stuff. I haven't done this in a while. Last year, I did take 4 days to just be by myself with no kids. And that was great. But I'm like, that was 4 days. And it was around my birthday. So it had kind of like a dual purpose of sorts. But when I found out that the kids were going to be off at the same time, I just knew that I knew that I knew. And I requested the whole week off. I didn't have any plans for myself. I didn't book anything. Nothing. The plan was to just be. I had no plans. I had no plans whatsoever. But it is important. And right now, I'm going to say a little bit past the halfway point of this resting period. And I'm going to do part 2, where I'm going to share what have I done during this week of rest exactly, or this week off from work. And because it hasn't all been rest, but I do want to share what that has looked like for me. But the point is, I don't know the reason behind this yet. Why this week? Why this week exactly? What about this week? And part of me is a little nervous, yet also excited with some anticipation, because usually when there's this forced period of rest, or this, I need to come here, I need to talk to you real quick, what precedes it, it's some work. It's, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, da, da, da. It's almost like I'm resting before the work versus, okay, you work, now go rest. I don't know why that's been the setup. It is what it is. But I'm sure that all of us, I don't know, I guess I should ask people more often. I'm wondering if that's the case for some people, if that's just for me and the way that God is working with me. If y'all ever feel the inkling to just go away. And there's nothing wrong with that. Actually, I think it's needed. Jesus is our example. It's a perfect example. And he went away sometimes with some close friends, but sometimes alone. He will go away. And if the finances aren't right, they may not be. They're not for me because if I had it my way, I would not be here at the house. I'll probably be lounging somewhere, like truly vacationing. Uh, but you will, I think if you seek out for it, you can make it work with whatever it is you do have. But if you feel that inkling, it's time. It's time, I'm telling you, because it's time. But yeah, that's what led to this week of rest. Here, like I said, ready to wrap it up, and I'll be sharing in part 2 of what that week of rest has looked like for me.